I'd to call to order today's Abington Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have two items on our agenda in terms of applications. We have a couple of other business items to address first. The first is for the zoning board to nominate a vice chairman. Or vice chair.
No, we did. Andy.
Andy has left the board.
Oh.
I am now a voting member.
Oh.
Yeah.
When did I miss that?
Yeah, that just happened.
Oh.
Yeah.
Andy decided not to run. Okay.
Yeah.
So I nominate you as vice chair. Do you accept?
I'll accept.
You want to vote on it?
There needs to be a second.
Second. There it is.
All in favor of the motion to appoint Dave Comerford as our vice chair? Please say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
All opposed? No?
No opposed. Okay, vice
Passes.
chair.
All right. The next order of business is a consideration of minutes dated May 11th, 2023 and April 26th, 2023. Do I have a motion on the minutes for May 11th?
I make a motion to accept the minutes from May 11th.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve May 11th, 2023 minutes? Aye. All opposed? It passes. The approval of minutes dated April 26, 2023. Do I have a motion on that, of those minutes?
Motion to accept?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Passes. We have to wait another minute officially for the clock to hit 7:03.
You guys flipped right through that.
Was there anything else? No. Nothing else? Oh, of course, Mr. Burbine has chosen not to be on the board anymore, and we'd just like to say thank you to him
Yes,
for all the years that he's put in, his dedication to the board.
yes.
Um,
Showing us how to do things properly.
Yes, yes. And we're gonna miss him, that's for sure.
Yep. Do you know when they're gonna make any announcement on a second alternate or another replacement alternate?
I think they already chose one. I got an email on that, a text on that, that they did an alternate.
Must have missed that one,
Yeah.
even today.
You weren't the only one. Yeah, I know, that's a big problem, guys, I apologize, I should have passed that information over to you guys.
No worries.
Because Andy had texted me that someone had been picked, so
Okay.
I should have passed that on to you guys, I apologize.
Okay.
No worries.
It was kind of a world when I was in the middle of Italy and everything, and
Yeah, no worries.
basically, I should have passed that on, so I apologize. But supposedly there's a second alternate too. And Andy has passed the torch.
Yeah. Okay, now we've hit the 7:03 PM mark, so the first item for discussion in front of the board is the petition of, and I apologize for pronunciation, Jean Bajrami? Is that close?
Just say Tony, more easy for everybody.
Tony, okay. 34 Linda Street here in Abington.
Yes,
Requesting a variance under section 175-29 to allow a side yard setback that is 11 feet rather than 20 feet required by bylaws. At 34 Linda Street, Abington, the property is located in Assessor's Map 4, Lot 189, in the R30 zone. And Tony,
yes, sir.
could you please tell us what the project is about? And there's several considerations when we have a request for a variance. We have to meet all of those, but
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying like to build another room or addition, how they call it, but,
yeah. It was, it's between the existing structure and the driveway.
yes, sir.
And it looked like the side setback on the other side was 6 feet or something like that.
I'm
I'll have to look at the
I'm not
map
really
again.
sure, but on the side, I guess it's 20 something
The zoning
feet.
requirement is 20, but it's, I'm sure the house predates the
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tiny house.
Yeah, all right.
So it's 15 by 21,
Yes,
and it's 11.8 feet. I did go down your block today, did take a look,
mhm,
and I did notice that your neighbor has the same type of an addition.
yep,
Right there, and I could see that right now, when you think about it, buying a new house today is very
it's
expensive.
kind, it's,
You have a very small lot.
right,
Yep.
Let's see. The shape of your lot is very small. Do you have wet conditions in the back, like soil conditions?
No.
Is it wet out back? No? It's funny
It's
because,
just a regular grass, I mean,
it's kind of funny because probably about 30 years ago, I lived on John Street, and I had the same type of house, and I had the same exact addition I had to put on because my family had grown.
right.
And it's just, I just look at that and I remember going through all this
So you know,
myself.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, exactly, and I can see it's a great neighborhood.
Right.
Very quiet. Again, your neighbor has the same type of addition on the,
I mean, most of them looks like they have the same, but
yeah,
probably they built it like that, or I'm not really sure.
right, and today, I mean, when you look at houses today and how expensive they are,
mean,
staying where you are is probably cheaper than,
It was the best, like, the best way.
So it looks like the house is a little off-centered too.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And it doesn't seem like a very big, like I said, a lot of the houses there have additions like that, and they pretty much look the same. Some of them have bigger additions actually, so.
Yeah, it's definitely.
But it's like a cookie cutter, I mean, all down
Yes,
that neighborhood,
obviously,
it
yep.
looks the same, it's just crazy.
Yep.
It doesn't look like there's any easier place to put an addition of that size on it.
No, because you,
You'd encroach.
again, you don't wanna go off the back, because then you have to rearrange the whole
I have to
house.
redo the kitchen, I have to redo the deck if I go on the side.
Yeah.
And plus I need like, I have a stairs that's going downstairs, and I'm going to remove those stairs to put on this new addition, so I'm gonna have more living area.
Yeah, so the cost would be prohibitive to do anything like that.
Yeah.
So I do see a hardship, I do see, you know, topographical, the
Yeah.
land being so small, I do see, it wouldn't hurt the neighborhood at all, because they all look
They all
like
look
the same.
yeah.
So it's just a, you know, something that even the neighbor next door has done, so.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I've
mean,
driven through that area.
He's not asking for too much on that end.
Did you talk to your neighbors about it?
Yeah, I talk with them, not with him, but on the side, on my neighbor on the side, yeah.
Okay. Just always like to ask, make sure.
Yeah,
they
right,
know
right.
what's
Yeah,
going on.
absolutely. I
Well,
mean,
everyone's been notified.
they're cool.
Everyone has been notified?
Yeah. Okay, do we have any more questions for him right now?
I don't have any questions.
Is there anyone from the audience who would like to speak on this matter?
No,
Okay.
Anyone from the neighborhood or anything?
no.
Then we need a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public portion of this meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You can sit down and then we'll continue with discussion amongst the board members.
Okay. All right, thank you guys.
That's how
Thank
it
you.
works. Thank you very much. I agree with you that this looks pretty well thought out and
Yeah, I mean, it's
the best
not,
thing that could be done.
It's, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the only thing basically that can be done without.
there is a hardship there, there is, you know, I was in the same position, I remember,
Yeah,
and it was so much easier to work with the neighborhood and add on that addition.
yeah. And lots of people in that area put additions on their houses because there's,
Because everyone knows, it's the
And
only.
it's like a cookie cutter place, I mean, the
Yeah.
houses are all lined up the same way, and every, you know, maybe every fourth one has an addition off the side. You will be taking up your parking, some of the parking area, but you're not taking it all, you still have, you can still park two
Yeah,
vehicles,
yeah.
right. So, like I said, I'm glad I drove by it and got to see that, how it looked.
yeah.
Mr. Chairman, before you vote, make sure you discuss the three prongs of the variance.
Yeah.
And that if this meets or does not meet that.
Just a reminder that four things that we have to assert when we approve a variance are that there are circumstances related to the soil condition, shape, or topography which especially affect the land or structure in question, but which do not generally, but do not affect generally the zoning district in which the land or structure is located. Two, that due to the circumstances especially affecting the land or structure, literal enforcement of the provisions of the zoning ordinance or bylaw would involve substantial hardship, financial or otherwise, to the applicant. Number three, that desirable relief may be granted without substantial detriment to the public good. And number four, that desirable relief may be granted without nullifying or substantially derogating from the intent and purpose of the zoning bylaws. So we have to make a finding that all of those things are true in order to approve that.
And that's the reason I was asking those questions, because, and you're pretty much hitting them all.
Is there any further discussion from the board?
No, I don't.
And then, do we have a motion on this matter?
Yeah, I'll make a motion, let me find my. Sorry, I'm gonna massacre your name. We have to say it for the record.
Yes, yes.
Say Tony.
I have to say it for the record. I make a motion to accept the petition of John
Oh,
Jarmy
there you go.
of 34 Linda Street, Abington, for a variance 175-29 to allow a side yard setback from 20 feet to 11 feet at 34 Linda Street, Abington. The property is located on Accessories Map 4, Lot 189 in the R30 zone.
I'd like to add that we have also found that it meets the four criteria for granting a variance with particular regard to financial hardship and the limitations of the site. Can I have a second for that motion?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye. Passes.
Good luck.
Good luck with
Pass
that.
3-0.
Good
Thank you very
luck.
much.
Hope everything works out good.
I have to sign something, right? That's a special permit maybe. Okay. We have passed the time of 7:10. Let's give them a moment to
Yeah.
finish up and then we'll start. I'll give them a minute to finish
Yep.
their paperwork.
Two and two. I gotta send all the decision Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. The final item on our agenda for tonight's zoning board hearing is the petition of Tamjaran Real Estate LLC, 500 Victory Road, Quincy, Mass., for a special permit under section 175-21A to allow conversion of existing residential property into a 6-unit residential condominium at 657 Bedford Street here in Abington. The property is located on Assessor's Map 46, Lot 20, in the HC zone. Please identify yourself and
Certainly.
your address.
Good evening. My name is Attorney Sean Riley at 500 Washington Street in Abington, representing the applicant, Tomajan Real Estate LLC. The principal is Mr. Thomas O'Connell from Quincy. He apologizes for not being here. He intended to be here, and he had a little family issue he had to take care of. If you're not familiar with the O'Connell family, Quincy, they basically have been in the development and design business for years. They built and designed Marina Bay. That's where their office is, so high-quality construction. This is the property right on Route 18, very close to where we are,
Yeah.
where there's an existing single-family house. They bought the property. They already renovated the exterior of that building to kind of clean it up. And the proposal, as is shown on the plans that are submitted, is to build a 2-unit building to the, next to it and a 3-unit building to the rear of it. We're here only for a special permit. There are no variances required. I would like to note to you that the planning board and the town's engineer has already reviewed this site plan and has approved it. We've been working on this for a number of months, tweaking it, met with the fire department at the fire department with the engineer, on more than one occasion. They came up with the idea of the driveway layout, making sure everything was wide enough, radiuses were fine, fire hydrants were in the right place. There is no stormwater management or drainage system on the property now. This project will install a drainage system on the property, so any water that falls or rains, right now when it rains, the water flows to the rear of the property, which is the east, which is the Frazier's house, they're here with us today. Or it flows, some of it also flows to the north, which is towards the commercial building, the medical office building. It just sheet flows. That's now all gonna be gathered and collected on our site, catch basins in the pavement areas, and then brought underground into underground drainage Cultec chambers, both in the rear of the property and at the front of the property. You'll notice, especially on page 2 of the sheets that I gave you, it's kind of the better description of what this would look like. Significant landscaping to be put in onto the property. It's a large front yard area, which we're going to have a lawn there and adorn it with trees. There's also a very large swath of forest land. It's an odd-shaped lot, and this forest goes behind the houses, the buildings that are on Bedford Street next to us, just south of us. That's not being touched, so that forest will be left as is. Sight lines are not an issue here on Route 18. It's straight away. It's a state highway, so it's not an issue as far as traffic pulling in or out. We opted with the fire department and the planning board, the town engineers agreement to have the one-way in and the one-way out. We also, the 5 new units will have a garage space. They'll also have a reserve space, and then there'll be extra guest spaces on top of that. Per our zoning bylaws, we're required to have 15 parking spaces on the site. We're actually providing 17 parking spaces. So we've tried to do everything we could to kind of preserve whatever greenery and trees were there, which I just mentioned. We have worked on the safety issues, the parking issues. We realized that we're building in New England. There is housing already on the 3 sides of this property, on the east, the south, and the west of us. So this kind of really fits in there. We're allowed to have no more than 60% of the lot covered with pavement and buildings. Our proposal is only 41%. So we're below every single threshold. And in order to get a special permit, some of the criteria is to make sure you don't overload water, sewer, or drainage. As I mentioned, we're actually installing drainage, so we're going to improve the drainage there. Sewer is connection, and water, we're on the list for water, or we'll be dropping a well if need be. I've already talked with the water department about that. Again, there's no undue traffic congestion, no unduly impaired sight lines for traffic. Nope, nothing changes there. No hazards affecting health, safety, or general welfare. One of the items is, are there any special regulations for this property, which is normally would be, is it in the floodplain? No, it is not. There are no wetland issues. And basically, we kind of check all the boxes, and with the substantial landscaping, as I mentioned, we are going to be planting 11 maple trees, 28 arborvitae trees, 94 shrubs, including inkberry, rhododendrons, and hydrangeas. If you know any of the O'Connell's properties, they're very well designed and very well maintained. So unless you have any questions, we respectfully request that you grant the special permit as we fall within all of the parameters required for approval.
Well, I've got a few questions. So it was highway commercial, then a single family, and now it's gonna be a multiple unit dwelling.
It's a highway commercial zone. The single-family house has been there from before time. So in the highway commercial zone, you can have multifamilies with a special permit in that zone.
Right,
There's a
I see
multifamily
that.
next to me,
Yeah.
next to us, and across the street several, and on the other side of Shaw Avenue.
When I was looking up the driveway that the planning board checked off on, 175-47-2E, it said driveways cannot be 10 feet from a plot line?
Side lot line, unless waived by the planning board, and they,
Was that waived?
It was.
I didn't see that. I didn't see it was
It
waived.
was.
Is it in the conditions?
it's in the planning board.
It is in the
site
conditions.
approval letter, yeah.
Personally, when I look at this, I see overcrowded. I see too tight. I've never heard of making a house into a condo and building onto that.
Well, that's my question with this. They're not, they're not connected, so it's like you're not even building onto it, you're building completely different
To me,
structures.
to me personally, when I look at this, I see it's all congested. To me, that's the way I look at this. And that's my opinion. So they did grant you the waiver for the 10 feet on the driveway. Now, what's stopping this company from buying all this land and doing the same thing to the other properties? That's one thing that was just kicking around, kicking the can. But highway commercial is supposed to be for businesses, traffic, foot traffic, business. Not, really, it's not, I mean, you said it yourself that highway commercial is very important for this town. It should be businesses.
It is, and specifically and intentionally, the zoning bylaw is written so that multifamilies are allowed in the highway commercial. Highway commercial is usually located in areas where there is state highways or a larger connector road, not a side street, like
Right.
Route 18, in this case, a
Right,
state highway. So that's why you'll see, literally, across the street is, I don't know how many units, 16 units on the corner of Shar Avenue there, and I'm talking about near, I was gonna say Hilliard's Candy, near Susan Ryan's office. The other one, across from Russ Wheatley's old office, is a multifamily there. That's where you'll see in Abington and like in any other towns, multifamilies on the larger roads. Special permit is required for checking the box, make sure we're not overloading anything. To your point about what you look at as congestion, the initial plans, we had a larger building in there. We intentionally broke it up to have more space, to have more privacy between units, to have more greenery and grass. As I mentioned, we're at 41% lot coverage. We
Well,
can go
that's
up to
because of the
60
40 feet in front of the building, correct?
Part of it, yeah. And the land
And
behind
30
it,
feet in the back.
between us.
Right. I mean, these buildings could be potentially moved to make more space, instead of just jamming everything in there, which to me, it looks like that. It looks like it's pretty much, all you need is one person to park a car somewhere and it's gonna be a lot of trouble.
Well, those are the things we did address with the fire department and with the planning board. That's why we have the garage space. That's why we're not putting a dumpster in, we're using totes instead, which is allowed by the Board of Health. I met with the Board of Health, or with the health agent. We conform to all setbacks, we conform to lot coverage, we conform to lot area, so it's not congested. It may look, by looking over it, but I think if
Well, I mean, I
you,
drove by it too, and I mean, it just seems very tight, very tight. It seems like, to me,
Well, and the structure that's there is already is non-conforming for the zone. So now we're gonna make it more non-conforming?
it's pre-existing,
I know that.
right, pre-existing non-conforming. All the houses and buildings in the highway
Yeah.
commercial are pre-existing non-conforming uses.
Yeah.
Yeah, to expand it, whether someone adds an extra unit or whatever, you have to get a special permit. So are you overloading sewer water? No. Are you overloading traffic? No. Are you violating any setbacks? No. Do you have enough parking? Yes, we have extra.
I kind of feel like this is, if you were adding on to that,
Mhm.
I would think of it differently. It seems to me like you're basically using this, calling it part of the same unit. These other three are connected, and these ones in the front are not connected.
Right.
So it's kind of like you're just using your footprint to add in,
No, well,
I mean,
the re-
and I understand that's the thought
And it-
process, but why isn't that connected?
one of the initial drawings was to connect it. One of the parts of our zoning bylaw and our planning regulations is to try to maintain the New England character
Yeah.
of the development. So one thought was to rip everything down and start over. They didn't want it, because the house does have some character. So as I mentioned, they already went in and spent the money to just renovate it so you could see, get a vision of what it would look like. Separating the building, the front building, instead of having 3 or 4 units connected out front and basically creating a wall, we wanted to create that break and have it segregated so that you have, again, more privacy between unit owners, so you're not hearing everyone in the walls, but also you have green space between the buildings. It actually makes it a nicer project to have things spread out more. We initially were looking at 4 units out back, cut that back, put it at the 3 units. We were gonna have parking in the forest area, which we're allowed to do, but we cut that back to maintain the green space.
Yeah, it just feels like a single family with a condo complex next to it.
Well,
Apartment complex.
Let me speak to that. So condominium is just a form of ownership. You can have 5 one-unit buildings on a piece of land, and it's a condominium. And they can be 5 separate buildings, or you can connect them as one 5-unit building, or have a 2-unit and a 3-unit. It's just a matter of ownership. So that same 5-unit building, I could decide, I don't want to sell the units, I want to rent them, so it's just a 5-unit apartment building. So by creating a condominium, which is filing a master deed at the Registry of Deeds, you're allowed to sell each one, so you have owner occupancy in these units instead of rental people.
So now, are the other units gonna look like the existing?
It's blended, it's the same style of architecture, obviously you're gonna notice it's a new building, but you can see they have the lights. The roof lines are supposed to try to be similar to the existing roof lines. And we're trying to use the trees out front to kind of have a nice curb appeal, which was important to the planning board also.
Sean, 657, the primary home, has a driveway right to the right of it currently.
Yes,
That's going away,
correct,
and it will not have any parking on its property. Its parking is situated in the back left corner.
correct.
So, and that's, because all the other units have an enclosed garage and a parking space in front.
Right, and then there's guest parking in the right-hand corner.
Over to the far right-hand corner, you're right, I'm sorry.
Correct.
Left-hand corner is there 2 parking spaces,
Correct.
and that's 100% okay.
Oh, yeah, we're not required to have garage spaces.
No, I'm
but
just
we
thinking-
wanted to create them.
Yeah, I wanted to know if there was any way that an existing driveway was gonna be utilized again as their parking spaces in this plan.
No, that'll be, everything ripped up and we'll show it so that we have the one driveway
One
in.
driveway all the way around and there 2 spaces
So
there, that's the way it
there'll
is.
be no parking in the front of the building.
At all?
All the parking will be to the
Behind.
rear.
Okay,
So again, which would be screened by the buildings and the landscape.
gotcha, okay. Just wanted to make sure that I was understanding of that.
Now, when I drove by today, is the entrance roof still there, or is that all gone now?
I'm sorry, the
The
what?
front
The
entrance to
porch,
the
the
initial
front
building,
porch?
remember the porch issue?
Oh, yeah, it's still
That
there.
whole
Oh, it's
foundation?
still there, okay, because the building inspector has some issues back and forth with you on this.
No, he sent me an email saying he agreed with my interpretation, that it's
I didn't
not,
understand the ending of that, though, when he said, I don't have her in front of me. Oh, that the roof structure is now classified as an overhang and should be measured from that point?
When frontages is concerned, because there's no foundation under the front entrance of that porch.
right. Our
So the
zoning
roof
bylaw-
structure, is he talking about the front porch? Is he talking about
No.
the front of the,
Towns have different definitions in their
yeah, I
zoning
saw
bylaw.
foundation, right.
Sure.
Right, so Abington says you go to the foundation wall, that's where you
Right.
measure your setback, the closest foundation wall for front, side, and rear. So, there's no doubt about it that you measure to the front. That stoop that comes out the front is not on a foundation wall. I took a close-up photo and I submitted that to the building inspector, and he agreed. You don't measure to those 2
The
front
stoop,
steps.
you measure to the
You
foundation
measure to
wall.
the foundation.
Gotcha.
So
So that
that, the
building that
roof
you
structure is
see-
now classified as just an overhang and should be measured from that point. That's all I'm taking out of that. I just,
Oh, I took it differently, I took it.
am I taking it wrong? I mean, you read that.
I read that, but I took it that the foundation is the core memory measuring point, not the, if the porch had a foundation under it, like a 3-wall foundation that attached to the foundation, they were required to take from the front of that porch and go back. That porch is on 2 piers,
Right.
so the only foundation that they can measure back to is the permanent foundation of the physical home
Right.
itself.
I think you're reading the second half of or the middle of the sentence, Mr. Negrelli. So what he said was,
Confirmed.
I am not challenging the fact that because the front entry has no confirmed foundation, the roof structure is now classified as an overhang and should be measured from that point, meaning that, well, I even should have gone back
Yeah,
to
that's
the
the way,
foundation.
I mean, that's the way,
No,
go a little
he's-
further, yeah. go.
This would be,
will
I can read it the whole thing out loud if you want, but
No,
it's
go
pretty
ahead. Why
clear.
don't you
Yeah,
do
go on.
that, put it on the record.
I'll pass by the
Stop.
niceties. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, the particular property located in the town's HC Highway Commercial Zone, the document received, which is the letter I sent to him, containing your interpretation of the front setback protocol is in fact correct. The front setback is measured from the verified front lot line to the verified closest point of the foundation wall that supports the conditioned space. This would be, in my interpretation, the closest verified full foundation wall point. Many other communities have challenged this interpretation with appeal to argue that the true point of the measure would be the front finished corner boards. Several other communities have also challenged this interpretation, arguing the front finished layer encapsulating the conditioned space or siding would be the true point. I am the authority having jurisdiction, and as such, my interpretation is that the true point to the closest point of the foundation wall. That's his conclusion. I'm also not challenging the fact that because the front entry has no confirmed foundation, that that the roof structure is now classified as an overhang and should be measured from that point. Should you have any other questions, please call me.
I think the period helps a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Before you get to that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think,
We just
thank you
wanted
for
to make
reading
sure
that, that makes it
That's
clear.
okay.
It's the same thing like with the back deck, the question comes up all the time, where's the foundation?
And if I went to Holbrook, they could have said that square of that front.
Oh, yeah,
porch
some
is-
other buildings will say to the nearest point of the building or of the structure.
Could you mentioned the term conditioned space, that means an enclosed space that's heated and cooled?
That was, the building inspector used that term, conditioned space. That's what I take it to be, as an enclosed heated or cooled space.
There's additions in town that are on piers, but they
Right.
are, they hold up a space that is heated and cooled, you know, like a four-season porch.
Right.
So this is
But
just-
in this town, we would still measure to the permanent foundation mark under that pier would be the marking of the fronting coming out that front of that building.
Right.
Even though it's on piers, the porch is on piers, and even though it has heat enclosure, it would still require us to measure to the foundation of the building itself in
Right.
order to get our space.
And the only exception to the rule is an ADA ramp. If that's on a foundation or poured in concrete, ADA trumps it.
Disability, correct.
Correct.
Yes, thank you for pointing that out.
And now, the excerpt you read is the letter from the planning board, correct?
No, that was from the
No,
building
That's from the
inspector.
building
That's from the
inspector.
building inspector.
Marion had called me from the building department, asked me, like, how do I address this? This is my interpretation. And I said, no, I think that's the wrong interpretation. I said, let me go take a look at it and I'll put something in writing for you. So I did. I put it in writing and I sent it to the building inspector, the zoning enforcement officer, and the assistant building inspector, and saying, basically, this is what our bylaw has said for the last 40 years.
I'm just looking for that 10-foot side rear lot.
Waiver?
Yeah.
It's on the front page of the letter from the planning board, maybe
Oh.
halfway down.
Okay.
Yeah, the, reading from the planning board site plan approval letter, the planning board was also asked to grant a waiver of 175-47B2 of the town zoning bylaws to allow the entrance and exit driveways to be less than 10 feet off the side lot lines. As shown on the site plan, voted 5-0 to grant the waiver as
And
requested.
also, it was voted to be what, a one-way? Right?
Yeah, it's designed
It's
as
a
a
one-way in, one-way out.
Right.
It's a U-shaped driveway.
So again, it conforms with all of the zoning bylaw dimensionally, and as we do regularly, it's a special permit for residential use, multifamily residential use, I should say, in the highway commercial.
Is this something, I just think that maybe Amy should take a look at this before we vote on this, just to make sure everything's definitely crossed.
Yeah, I think that having confirmation of a legal finding would give us some protection.
On the other end, yeah, because I just, this is a little unique. I mean, even though you might have checked all the boxes, something just doesn't seem right to me with this one. Just driving by it and looking at it, it just seems like a smaller lot than it is.
Yeah.
I would just like to have Amy take a look. I mean, it's up to you guys. I mean,
Yeah, well, let's,
we can continue on if you
Yeah.
want, or,
well, let's see if anybody in the audience wants to speak to this, and then we'll
Bring it back.
bring it back.
Sure.
So, do you folks want to say anything more
No,
about this?
I'm only concerned with the water.
do you want to come up? You can come right up and, you have to come up and introduce
If you want
yourself.
to talk, you have to come to the microphone.
Are they-
That way everyone can hear you.
Yeah,
Dave Fraser, 1148 Washington Street.
yeah, I saw that.
My wife, I live over there.
Yep.
You got a lot?
Only concern we had is an overflow of water
Yes.
going into our property. That's
Okay.
it. That-
Okay.
That's
And
all.
you're comfortable they're addressing your issue?
Yep,
So you have no other further complaint or issue with
No complaint.
with it probably at all?
Okay.
Okay,
I'm good.
that's fine.
Misplaced that stupid letter.
Uh,
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Where did I put it?
Want to bring it back to the board?
There's one other question that I had.
Want to bring it back to the board first?
Bring it back.
Okay, since there's no one else here, thank you very much. We will
Bring it back to the board.
entertain a motion to stop the, or close the
Yeah,
hearing.
close the floor and
Could
bring
I
it
suggest,
back to the board.
could I suggest you don't close the public hearing if you're gonna get town council's input, because you may have more questions you wanna ask me next year, no, I mean, next
No,
month?
no, next time.
Next time.
Well, I was just gonna say, except for Attorney Riley. I was gonna say,
No, no,
except
okay.
for Attorney Riley.
That's a good point. I
Yeah.
do have, been one question. There was,
Yeah.
I have to find the letter here, but there was some identification of outstanding taxes on the property.
It's always a condition for any building permit to be issued, that you must pay any outstanding taxes, yeah.
Okay. Okay. We were just, I was notified of that, so, okay, so then, this is an awkward thing, because usually you close it to the public and we can discuss amongst ourselves, but I guess,
Well, I mean, we could close it to the public and,
But then
and then bring it back to us and Attorney Riley.
yeah.
Um,
But I-
And with the intentions of opening it up at the next meeting.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't see why, is that a problem?
Yeah. Only to protect the Frasers. You can't say that only Sean Riley can talk and no one else can, so it just stays open. I'm glad to sit down and not say anything, and you guys can just talk.
You're not gonna say anything?
If you'd, yeah, unless you tell me to come up, right?
You still talking?
Unless you call me back up here, but otherwise, if you want to continue to next month, that's
Because we're
great.
here and we don't have a large group, it's probably, okay.
okay, so,
Close it to the floor,
Yeah,
and you can continue
Correct.
your discussion, and
Yeah.
then you can.
well, I do have one question for him with regard to,
Attorney Riley.
All right, he asked.
before we close it to, for the time being, how do you feel about a continuance till the next meeting?
That's your decision. I don't think, the board has to have a reason to say no to a special permit. It's a lower threshold than a variance. And you're gonna have to tell me where we overload sewer, water, drainage, traffic, lot coverage. And I think I demonstrated that we've covered everything. If you feel like you want to cover, I'm not gonna say, no, don't talk to your attorney. Please feel free to do so, and I'll be back here next month to talk with you. That's fine.
Okay,
Because
Okay.
again, as a board, we are, you know, we're supposed to prevent over congestion
Right,
and overcrowding. I mean, that right there is part of the board's,
yep.
you know, being together here, this board. So,
Yep, and I hope the board and town council put a little weight on the fact that the planning board did have site plan approval. We literally worked on this
That's
for about
fine,
a
but
year.
again,
And the town engineer reviewed it.
that's why we have a zoning board to,
Right.
even though it's all approved,
It's
doesn't
a
mean.
two-pronged system.
Again, we have the right to give the permit or not give the permit.
Right.
But we would like the attorney to look at it and just
Okay.
poke through it a little bit.
in light of that observation, do we have a motion to, offer a continuance until the next meeting?
August 10th.
Prejudice?
August 10th,
Without prejudice?
2023,
Without prejudice.
without prejudice,
You know.
yeah.
Thank you, Rich.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor of granting a continuance? Aye.
And we'll have our lawyer look at this just to check up for the town,
Yeah, just make sure we're not,
doing something that,
yeah.
yes.
No worries. Thank you for your time.
Thank
All
you.
right, Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hopefully the air conditioner will be replaced
Oh,
by then.
thank God, oh, that'd be great.
This is all planned to make these meetings go faster.
That's right.
Okay,
Thank you. Hey, oh, can I say one thing?
Yeah.
Sorry. It's my understanding that Mr. Bill Mullen, this is his last meeting that he's going to be in this role as the zoning administrator.
You are
and
correct.
I think so, yeah.
I just wanted to publicly say that it is Abington's loss. That, I mean, I'm happy that he's got a new job and he's moving on, but Bill, and you guys have worked with him just as much as I've worked with him, has been one of the most professional, efficient, good guys to work with, and he represents the town so well.
Well, he keeps leaving, coming back, you know?
Well, you know, I hope he comes back, but I mean, Bill, you've just been great to the town, and every time that people walk into the building department, and you're the first person they talk to is you, they get a great impression of the town of Abington, so thanks for everything you've done for us.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
My only
that a
addition
tear?
to that would be the, is that if your replacement is half as good as you, we'll be lucky.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
Do we know what that is?
Kind words.
Phil,
I do not.
just to be on the record after Attorney Riley, I also want to thank you for all the effort you put into doing this job in a very professional manner and very successfully pulled off the very professional manner. You're a very good building department employee. You're an exceptional help to this board, and I want to thank you for all the work you did.
And you're a great member over the years that I worked with you too. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much for all your help.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
A motion to close.
Yes, I'd like to entertain a motion to close tonight's meeting.
Second.
Well, I have to have a motion first.
I thought you just did.
Motion to close the meeting.
Motion to close the
Second.
meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye, aye, aye.
Hi.
Goodbye.
Aye and goodbye.
We're good.